Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome in. Glad y'all are here. Thank you for making time tonight. Got a couple of minutes before we'll get started. I know a couple more people are coming in. Welcome, everybody. As you're coming in, do me a favor, and there's a chat feature down at the bottom. Just throw your name down in the chat and or your location where you practice out of. Just give me a little introduction down in the chat. That way I know the chat's working, if you guys don't mind. Welcome, welcome. Looks like everybody's starting to come in. Just so you guys know, I am going to remove note takers. All right, guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. Got a few people coming in. Is everybody able to use the chat? If you could, just drop your location down in the chat, chat disabled. There's a Q&A. That's why I tested it. Perfect. There's a Q&A section. Looks like somebody announced that the Q&A is open. So if you click on that, you'll be able to communicate with me. I can see that right as you do it. So throw that in there. Chat is disabled, chat not working. Yep, got that. There is a Q&A section. So that chat not working, you use that, I can see it, and we're good to go. Perfect. All right, we got people out of Virginia. Throw that. Where are you located? Just throw that in the chat. That way I can see everybody. We're good to go. Yep. Ray's out of Chicago. We got Florida. Perfect, guys. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I am going to go ahead and get started now that we're about a minute past the hour. All right. I don't think you're allowed to share your screen in a Zoom meeting without asking if everybody can see your screen. So is everybody good? Just let me know in the chat if you guys in that Q&A. I know the chat is disabled. So in that Q&A, let me know if you guys are able to see my screen. Should be a olive green screen. Let me know if you guys are seeing that. Perfect. All right, cool. Well, we're going to go ahead and get rolling, guys. I am Kyle Porter. I'm the founder of Guidepost Marketing. The first thing I want to do is thank you for spending your time, your evening, your Thursday afternoon or evening with me. Your time is far and away your most important resource. So I want to be as respectful as possible of it. And so I'm going to tell you exactly what the next 60-ish minutes are going to do for you and for your practice. By the time we are done today, you are going to understand exactly why some cash pay clinics are booked out months in advance, are constantly growing, keep people coming in the doors, while others that are offering the exact same treatments have a hard time filling their schedule. And it doesn't really have anything to do at all with how good they are clinically. So I'm going to show you the exact system that we use that took one of our clinics from zero traffic, literally starting from scratch, to a waiting list using nothing except a monthly webinar. So that is my promise to you guys tonight. That is what I'm aiming for. So with that in mind, we will go ahead and get started. Before I show you anything though, I want to make sure that like we're aligned because this is what Guidepost does. Our agency focuses on primarily regenerative stem cell cash pay, but also functional performance medicine clinics. We are in the cash pay medical world. We live in it and breathe in it all day long. It's what we do. So I want to make sure that I understand your situation because if I don't, then nothing I say after this really has any bearing. But this is what I hear from clinic owners basically every week. The first one is that you are spending money on ads and the phone isn't ringing with the right patients. You're getting leads maybe in the door, but you're constantly having to convince people. You're constantly having to sell people. You're constantly having to show people, and you're fighting an uphill battle. The second one is those leads come in, your team calls, they follow up, and then those people either ghost or they say, I'll think about it, or they price shop and they compare you to the clinic down the road. And you know that your outcomes are better. and you don't have a great way to explain that in a way that most people are going to understand and that it's going to impact their decision. And you may have tried an agency before, and they're going to send you a report with a lot of green up and to the right arrows, and talk about impressions and clicks and video views and leads. And meanwhile, your wallet stays in exactly the same position it was in. You don't benefit from it, and you don't really have anything significant to work from. You don't have anything to measure. You can't. You're not getting. You don't feel like you've got a partner. And that sucks because you got into medicine, as I understand it, from pretty much everybody I talked to help people, and not to become a marketing expert and not to manage agencies and not to chase leads. But somewhere along the way, you have probably realized that clinical excellence is necessary but not sufficient for filling a schedule. And so we've got to add some other layers into it. And the most frustrating part about that is that you know your treatments work. You've seen the transformations, you've watched patients get their lives back, but for the most part, the people who need you the most, the people who would benefit from you the most, are having a hard time finding you. And so that's what we want to do something about. So here's all I want from you. I am going to show you everything that we do for our patients. I'm going to show you the behind the scenes. I'll show you the ads. I'll show you, in fact, I show it to you in just a second. I'm going to show you the strategy, why we do what we do, the results, the numbers. I am not going to hold anything back. All I need from you, I don't need you to buy anything. I don't need you to commit to anything. All I need is that if what I show you makes sense, that you won't let a bad experience with a past agency or that voice in your head that's like, oh, this isn't going to work. This is another one of those things. Stop you from at least finding out if this could be viable for you. That's it. Just stay open to it. And if you can do that, then I think we're in a good spot. Quick background on me, just so you know who is talking to you. My name's Kyle. I run Guidepost. We do one thing, which is we build and run patient acquisition systems for cash pay medical clinics. That's it. And we do a lot of webinars for our clients. It's not all we do. We do a lot of webinars. I think we're at about 80 completed webinars so far on the year across all of our clients. We've done probably more than, certainly more than 200 of these things, across a lot of different modalities, across a lot of different geographies. We know what works. We've tested and iterated and applied best practices, and we've kind of worked out all the kinks. We don't do insurance-based practices. We don't do e-commerce. We don't do just run-of-the-mill local landscaping company digital marketing. What we do is we build webinars that turn strangers into patients for clinics like yours. We have done it, like I said, probably over 200 times across regenerative, functional, hormone therapy, pain management, kind of you name it. And so I'm going to let our clients' results do a lot of our talking. Here, what I want to show you first, this is a dashboard that we work from. Everything that we do is constraint-based. It is diagnosis and prescription, just the way you do it. So we see where the problem is in an ecosystem and we go, we're going to fix that. So if we're running a webinar, there's a lot of pieces. We got to get people to register. We got to get people to show up. We got to get people to take action. We got to get people to move forward. And maybe we don't have a problem getting people to register, but maybe we have a problem getting people to show. And so our job is to find the constraint, find the bottleneck, and do something about it. So we watch metrics like a hawk. You can see here, we typically get webinar registrants at around $10 to $12 to $15 per registrant. This is a screenshot from an ad account this year. Like I took it yesterday. So we do this all day long. We know exactly what it looks like. This is a patient client calendar of patient consults scheduled from webinars. These are webinar consults scheduled. This is this week. This is last week. So they're staying busy from this. You know, this is something that we do literally all day, every day. And we have the systems behind the scenes to make it happen. So we have everything built out, the pages that we use. Oh, I went backwards. The pages that we use, the qualification, the landing pages, the nurture sequences, everything that we need to build an effective webinar for you. We have done it over and over and over again, including the ads applied for whatever modality you want to get up and running. We do it. These are text message screenshots that I took yesterday and dropped in here. We are that close with you. We're that hands-on. And you can see here, you know, these are stuff from doctors, how many attendees, 59, from computers, 105, including phone, 9 or 10 consult, like these are, this is the results. This is what happens.
Looks like candidacy calls are.
Is everybody hearing that before I can reshare? Hang on a second. Why not? Now you are.
working really well. Like I'm seeing a ton of candidacy calls on both Becca and Amanda's schedule. So any questions or concerns about how any of that stuff is going?
No, this has been a huge game changer for us to this flow of going into a candidacy call to book a consult has really significantly increased the amount of consults we're booking, and our booking rate seems to be holding pretty steady. So I think when we make a system transition, we get things. The question is, how do we double down?
Yeah. So these are actual client results. The numbers kind of take care of themselves. A couple of case studies just to kind of flex a little bit, I guess. I'm not here to sell you theory. This is case one. Clinic owner came to us. They were spending money on Facebook ads, getting some leads, but nobody was really booking. It was the standard. We got a name, we got a phone number, we got an email address. We called them 5 times. We got a couple of people that asked us how much it cost, a couple of people asking if we took insurance, and a couple of people telling us to go kick rocks. And so we built them a webinar. Their total ad spend for that first webinar was $500, not thousand, $500. And I'll be clear, this is an anomaly. This is a really, really good one. But they closed 14 patients on a hormone program that lifetime value is going to be at $5,000 over the course of about 12 months from a single webinar. So this is, that's a 140x ROI. But on the other side of the spectrum, we have another clinic that literally started from scratch. They came to us with nothing. They didn't have any web traffic. In fact, they launched their website right around the time we launched our first webinar campaign. We didn't build their website. No email list, no social media following, no ad history, no nothing. They started from zero. We built their entire patient acquisition system. All they do for digital marketing is a single monthly webinar, and it is a one provider practice. And today they have a waiting list for their stem cell treatments. They are completely booked out and they do one webinar a month like clockwork. So that's from zero. So we can do this a lot of different ways. But before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of call out the elephants in the room because I know that they're here. First one being, I've tried a marketing agency. They took my money. They showed me a dashboard full of impressions and clicks, and I never saw the patients. I hear this literally every single week. And the thing is that you didn't really have a bad marketing experience. You had a bad lead generation experience because nobody built you a system that actually converts those leads into patients. What you built is by accident, without knowing, because it's not your job to know, is you built a flash in the pan transactional model that was dollars for leads, try to get them in the door right away, and then got surprised when it didn't last or never worked at all. And that is a completely different problem, and it's the one that we solve. So elephant number two is, Kyle, I am a doctor. I am not a TV host. I don't want to get up here and do what you're doing right now. I can't do a webinar. I love this objection actually, because every single one of our most successful clients has given me some version of this. And what a webinar, I want to sort of reframe it in your mind. What a webinar actually is you explaining what you do to a room full of people who need your help. You already do that all day long. You just do it one patient at a time. What we give you is the slides and the scripts and the practice sessions to do it for 30 people at once, or 40 people at once, or 10 people at once, instead of one person at a time. So elephant number three is, my practice is different. We do things differently than you guys have seen before, and that's fine. It might be. All I ask is, when we look at the model that I'm going to show you today, I'm going to ask you to ask yourself, does this make sense? Can I take this and apply the patterns that I'm seeing here to my practice? And if so, then great, let's talk about it. So what's coming in the next 40 minutes, what I'm going to show you is really this. I'm going to show you why one of our clients told us that they wish they had stopped traditional marketing sooner, and it'll make you a little bit angry. I'm also going to show you the number one most expensive mistake that cash pay clinics make that basically guarantees that leads are never going to become patients. I'm going to show you why the clinics that spend the most on marketing are often getting the worst results and why that happens. And then I'm going to show you the 60-minute system that we use that replaces your sales team, replaces, in some cases, your ad agency, and augments, or in some cases even replaces your referral pipeline, but it also grows your referral pipeline. And there's some really cool kind of nuances to what we're doing. But before I get into the how, I want you to just kind of picture something for me. Picture a Monday morning, this Monday morning, or this coming Monday morning, where you walk into your clinic, your schedule is full, not with people who your outbound third-party sales team called and got into some lukewarm, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't appointment with a 35% show rate, who have no idea what you do and are going to come in asking about insurance and discounts. These are people who watched your webinar last week. They understand your approach. They don't want to go to any other doctor but you. They know what the treatment involves. They've already decided that they want to work with you. They're not price shopping. They're not comparing you to the clinic down the street because they've already chosen you. They heard it from you and you are their person. So they're as excited about this appointment as you are. Your front desk is not spending 2 hours a day cold calling, or basically cold calling cold leads that aren't going to pick up. Your marketing isn't a mystery. You know exactly what numbers are working well, which numbers we're actively working on, and how many patients are coming in next month because the system is predictable. That's what our clients are going through right now. And the system that makes it possible is what I'm about to show you. All right. So here's what I'm walking you through. 3 things that you need to understand before any of this makes sense. Step 1, I'm going to show you why the way most clinics think about marketing is fundamentally broken, and why more leads can actually make the problem a lot worse. I'm going to show you what replaces it. It is a 60-minute system that does the selling, the educating, the objection handling for you, basically automatically. And I'm going to show you why this is not a DIY project. We see that a lot. A lot of clinics go, well, I'll hire an attorney, I'll hire an accountant, I'll hire a whatever, but I'm going to handle my own marketing. And I sort of go like, okay, well, you're not an attorney and you're not an accountant and you're not a marketer. So I don't know why you feel like that one is like on you and you can do it. You can, just like you could spend time in a law library and figure out the legalities of what you do, but it's really just not the best use of your time. So here's what every marketing agency in the medical space is selling you right now. They are going to run ads. Those ads are going to send people to a landing page. That landing page is going to capture somebody's name and phone number and email address. And then an overseas appointment setter or your front desk staff now has to call that person and try to get them in for an appointment. And then here's what happens. Nothing. They don't pick up, or they say they're just researching, or they booked with somebody else, or they ask insurance questions, or they show up and then they hear the price and then they disappear, because people are fundamentally conditioned to insurance-based care. And so when we tell them anything about a cash pay model, it breaks their brain in terms of what medical care actually looks like. And they don't have a sense of price because they don't have a sense of value. This is the lead generation model, and it is fundamentally broken for cash pay clinics. Not because the ads are bad, not because the leads are bad necessarily, not because your front desk isn't trying. It's broken because nobody is going to commit $3,000 to $5,000 to $15,000 for a medical treatment based on seeing a Facebook ad, filling out a form, and receiving a phone call. It just doesn't happen. Like, people don't make $10,000 decisions that way. The lead generation model was built for insurance-based practices where the patient's cost is a $40 copay. But in cash pay, that is a recipe for frustration. So the problem isn't leads, it's that nobody is educating and building trust and handling objections before the phone actually rings. And that gap is what's costing you the results on the back end. Because you don't hire a marketing agency or a team or a person in-house or do it yourself for leads, you do it for patients. And we don't want to get ourselves halfway to the finish line. All right. So let me put some numbers on this. The average cash pay clinic I talk to is spending somewhere between $3,000 and $8,000 a month on ads between Facebook, Google, Instagram, some mix. They're investing in SEO maybe. And they are probably getting leads. People are filling out forms. The leads just don't become patients. On top of that, the people that you're paying to run your office, a lot of times your medical assistants, kind of anybody who has time, not salespeople, are spending 20 or more hours a month calling people who aren't going to pick up, who are going to yell at you, who are going to ask you questions that they don't like the answers to because they didn't know what to expect when they came in. They're going to follow up with people who are ghosting them, and they're going to have conversations with people who never planned on even being in the neighborhood of a $5,000 treatment over the phone. But the biggest cost is not the money, and it's not even the time. It's that after enough versions of this, after hearing and playing and living this story so many times, you start to believe that marketing kind of writ large just doesn't work for practices like yours. And that belief is the thing that is the most expensive mistake in your entire business because it keeps you stuck. So one of our clients said something that was really interesting to me. He told us like, I wish I had stopped marketing earlier because what we're doing isn't really, I mean, it is like we're an agency, but I don't even call it marketing. Like there's so much to it, and it's an education and it's a nurture and it's a service that positions you just in a completely different way. But everybody else is doing it wrong. Everything that they were doing ahead of time was the wrong kind of marketing for a cash pay practice. So let me check in. Does all of this make sense so far? The problem isn't the interest. The problem is that nothing happens between somebody seeing your ad and somebody committing to treatment. It's the gap on the back end, not the gap on the front end. If all that makes sense, just let me know, and I'm going to keep going. Cool. Step 2, this is where everything gets really kind of exciting. I want you to think about your best consultation, like the one where your patient comes in, you explain their condition, you walk through the treatment options, you answer their questions, and at the end, they're like, when can we start? Here's my credit card. Let's do this thing. That is your ideal interaction as a clinician. Now, what if you could have that exact interaction, but with 30 or 50 or 100 people all at once instead of having to do it one at a time? What if those people were able to hear you explain your approach in a way that you had some reps, you understood it, you knew exactly what you were going to talk about, the pain points you were going to address, the objections you were going to overcome. They understood your philosophy and they asked questions all from the comfort of their own home before they ever set foot in your clinic. That's what this patient acquisition webinar does. It is your best consultation that you've ever had, the person who was like, yes, take my money, and it scales it out to 30 to 100 people all at once. So the patients who come out the other end are no longer cold leads. They are bought in, they're invested in you, and they're educated, they're motivated, and they've already decided on you as the provider. So your front desk basically shifts from this selling mode, which is a skill in and of itself, into effectively just kind of scheduling and order taking. So let me show you how this works. This is the anatomy of what happens in those 60 minutes. Stage 1 is education. Most of your patients spend weeks or months researching online before they ever contact you, and they don't start with regenerative or functional medicine. They typically start with, what is insurance going to cover? What does my primary care doctor tell me that I need to be going and doing? And then they start to explore potentially other pathways around it. So there's a concept called the 5 Stages of Awareness by a guy named Eugene Schwartz. It's a marketing thing. But basically, we have people who are unaware. We have people who are, which is like, I'm just living with it. We've got people who are problem aware, which is like, man, my knee is really starting to hurt and I should do something about it. We've got people who are solution aware, which is like, what's this stem cell regenerative medicine stuff? Then we've got people who are like product or brand aware, where it's like, I know about Clinic ABC right down the road. And then we got people who are most aware, which is like, I am ready to take action. I just need some kind of nudge to really push baby bird out of the nest. And so what most of us are looking for is those people from the bottom, but we don't take our time to nurture down the people from the top who are just kind of checking things out. I went backwards again. So a webinar, like I said, is going to compress that entire research phase into 15 to 30 minutes. They're going to hear it from you, the expert, not from Reddit or some random blog that they land on. Stage 2 or step 2 is that it builds trust. They see your face, they hear your voice, they make a decision one way or the other. This person either knows their stuff or they don't. They watch you answer questions in real time and they get a sense of like, is this person actually going to be able to help me? They're going to see real patients, stories, real patient results. And that replaces the 6 weeks of them scrolling through Google reviews, wondering about that 2-star Google review from 18 months ago, where somebody had a bad experience with something not pertaining to anybody in your office and decided that, it was a good time for them to rant on your Google page. Like that sucks. And we want to make sure that they have the experience of hearing directly from you. Stage 3, you have the opportunity to handle objections. So every question they would normally ask you or your front desk, is it safe? Does it hurt? How much does it cost? Will insurance cover it? What if it doesn't work? All of that kind of stuff, that gets answered in the webinar by you with the nuance and the authority that only a doctor can bring. So you don't have to be the greatest showman to get up there and actually show people that you can help them. You just get up there and be a human being and genuinely be invested in the outcome of the patients who have taken the time to spend their evening with you on this webinar. And so if that happens, then step 4 is action. By the end of the webinar, booking a consultation doesn't even feel like a sales pitch. It just feels like this obvious next step because they already know you and like you and trust you. And so by the time they pick up the phone or fill out the form or whatever we ask them to do in the webinar, the selling part is done and the front desk is just scheduling and they don't have to do any persuading. So in step 1, we're cooking with gas right now. Step 1, you learned why leads without a conversion system are a losing game. We can get leads all day long, but if we don't have a back-end ecosystem to turn those into patients, why bother? Step 2, you can now see kind of what a webinar does to fix that, but it really kind of covers the whole range of generation and closing of these leads. Here's where people get stuck. They see this and they stop here and they go, okay, cool. I've watched this. Kyle seems to get it. This seems like a great idea. I'm in. I'm going to go do this myself. And I go, okay, great. Have at it and call me once you run into your first snag because there's a whole bunch of them that we had to figure out when we did 200 of these things. So let me show you why in step 3, the inaction caused by so much to do or the I tried and I ran into snags, why that's actually a good thing. All right. So this is where I'm going to be really honest with you. You know that webinars work, or hopefully hopefully you believe that webinars work. We see it all day, every day. You have seen some of the proof, but the thing is this, a webinar by itself isn't enough. It is the engine, but an engine without a car around it isn't going to go anywhere. There are 5 components to get this thing street legal and ready to roll. And this is kind of what we've learned the hard way over doing 200 webinars. Component 1 is the webinar itself. So that's the content, it's the slides, it's the scripts, it's what I'm presenting from right now, it's what I'm saying to you right now. That has to be built using very specific principles, and it can't be a clinical presentation. I see it go one of 2 ways. I see doctors either just dive real heavy into the science, so people are looking at it going like, man, this guy sure seems smart, or this gal sure seems smart, but man, I don't know what they're talking about. Or they wander and they meander and they talk about when they were in college and how they used to ride mountain bikes and then they fell off and then they got hurt and that's why they really love regenerative medicine. And also they like to go to pumpkin patches in the fall and they have 3 kids and a golden retriever. And it's sort of like, man, like I'm here for me, my knee hurts and I need you to do something about it. So the structure of this matters a whole lot. Most doctors are creating lectures because that's what doctors are used to hearing. What we are building is a conversion event. Component 2 is the ads. So we are not just using any ads. These are specifically designed to attract and filter the right people to a webinar. So this is a completely different skill set than running ads just to a landing page to get people to fill out a form, which we can do as well. Component 3 is what we call the funnel, but it's really the ecosystem of pages that all of you guys interacted with and saw as you went through this process. This is transparently, this is us eating our own dog food. This is showing you how we do for ourselves, what we do for you as well. So there's multiple pages. They redirect to other pages. There's confirmation emails. There's reminder sequences. There's 24 of you guys on the webinar right now. That doesn't happen if we just host a webinar, right? There has to be intent behind it and purpose behind each one of those components. Every touch point is either going to build anticipation or it's going to lose the person on the back end. Component 4 is what happens after the webinar. So that is the emails we send. It's the follow-up text. It's the calls we make. It's the AI appointment setting that happens. It is if someone watches your webinar but doesn't take action, how do we keep the conversation going? And that doesn't mean how do we push them towards taking action right now, because sometimes a webinar is just for people who want to get information and they're way higher up in that awareness level and they just need somebody to be on their team for a little bit and give them some answers to some questions and I'll get to you when I'm ready. And that's fine. Because what happens, like we had 75 people sign up, just transparently, 75 people sign up for this webinar tonight. 24 of you are here. That means 51 of you didn't show up. And that's okay. They're in my email list. I'll send them some stuff. I'll send them the replay. They can watch it when they want. They can call me in 6 months. I'm not going anywhere. And that's how regenerative medicine and cash pay medicine works as well. It's not a, do you want to buy it right now? It's let's build a relationship with people over time. Component 5 is your front desk. It's your sales enablement. Maybe it's not your front desk. Maybe it's a dedicated sales team that you have in place. Maybe it's a dedicated sales team we put in place for you. But when that phone rings, your team needs to know, whoever they are, exactly what to say. These are not going to be cold calls anymore. These are warm, educated prospects that are ready to take action. But if the team that's handling those conversations treats them like cold leads, then we're going to lose them. If you miss any of these components, the entire system is going to break. And that is why clinics who try to DIY it fail, because they don't have 200 reps. They could get them, but we've already done them. So that's kind of the model. I want to be transparent. Could you build this yourself? Technically, yes. Some clinic owners are marketing geniuses, and they are just as good at writing copy as they are at ultrasound guided injection. And great. But in order to do that, you would have to learn direct response copywriting, which is not the same thing as writing a blog post. You would need to learn how to produce a webinar. You would need to become an advertising expert. You would need to build out all the pages. You would need to create all the email sequences, and you would need to train your staff. Then while you're doing that, or somebody's doing that, who is seeing patients? Who's running the clinic? Or you could plug into a system that's already been built, it's already been tested, it's been optimized across 100 or 200 webinars where we build everything. All you've got to do is show up and present for 45 minutes, and you have your first webinar with the way we do things. You have your first webinar live in 30 days. So this isn't really about whether webinars work. I feel like we've proven that. This is really just about whether you want to spend the next year trying to figure this out alone, or whether you want it built by the team that's already done it 200 times. All right, so let's recap. Here's where we are. 3 steps, 3 things that are true. Why leads are killing your practice? Because leads without conversion systems waste money, and you need a system. You don't need more leads. The 60-minute patient machine is where a webinar becomes your best consultation scaled out to 30 to 100 people all at once. And then the components that have to work together are complicated and interwoven, and there's a lot of complexity there, and you don't really need to deal with that. So why not work with a team that's done it hundreds of times? All right. So before I show you what we have put together for you guys, let me ask you a couple of questions. First, do you now, feel free to answer in the Q&A, do you now understand why generating leads without a conversion system on the back end is a losing game, and never is it going to be the thing that gets you where you want to go as a practice? Second, can you see how a well-built webinar could generate leads for a lot of people way less expensively than we could get them for direct response leads across the entire spectrum of awareness, could educate and pre-qualify those patients and move them closer to a transaction, but not just any transaction, a transaction with you before they actually contact your clinic. And then if a team that has done this hundreds of times could build this entire system for you, would you at least want to know what that looks like? So right now, you have 2 choices. Choice 1 is you can leave this webinar, you can go back to your clinic tomorrow, and nothing changes. Maybe you try another agency, maybe you run some more ads, maybe you do nothing. Maybe you pull out your phone because somebody told you should be posting on Instagram and TikTok, and so you do that. But you know how that story ends, because that is the story that you have been living, and that's why you're on this tonight. Or choice number 2 is that you could let my team, the same team that has produced those results that I showed you earlier, build this entire system for your practice. And it doesn't take 6 months. It doesn't take 3 months. It doesn't even take 2 months. It takes 30 days. So I have chosen option 2 for you, if that is something that you want to find out more about. And here's what that looks like. This is called the patient pipeline system. It is not a course. It is not a template. It is not a marketing retainer where we're going to send you a bunch of reports and hope for the best. It is a complete, done for you, hands-on, white glove patient acquisition webinar that my team builds, launches, and manages for your practice. In 30 days, you will have a live, high converting webinar that is actively generating patients for your clinic. So let me show you what you get. First, the foundation. We are going to build your complete webinar presentation. This is not a template that you fill in. We are going to research your market, your competition, your audience, your target avatars, your unique value propositions. What sets your clinic apart from the one that's right down the street that does what a person on the outside would consider to be the same thing, like, but you know it's not. So let's talk about what that is. We're going to interview you about your approach, your results, what makes your practice different. And then we're going to build a webinar presentation designed specifically to convert your patients with your message. And we're going to tailor it to what works across 200 plus webinars. So what you're going to get is the slides, the script, the flow, all built using that same direct response framework that we've used across all these other webinars. And if you were to hire a direct response copywriter to build and design and provide all of this for you, you'd probably be looking in the neighborhood of about $4,000, $4,500. Component 2 is the complete funnel. So all those pieces that I told you about, this is the infrastructure that makes the webinar actually produce the patients on the back end. So you will get a registration page, you'll get a confirmation page, you'll get a post-webinar booking page, and you don't even really have to know what those are. But you'll get a pre-webinar opt-in conversion page. You'll get a post-webinar, post-opt-in thank you page, because the system is the system and we've seen it work over and over and over again. So structurally, what we build, the scaffolding that we build for you is the scaffolding that we know works. The clothing that we put on that scaffolding is your unique clinic, and it is completely tailored to you and your unique messaging, your unique branding, your unique audience. So if you hired a funnel designer, this alone, all these pages, all of the ecosystem that we're sending people to and they're touching, all of that is going to cost you somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000. Component 3 is the actual ads to get people onto the webinar itself. So we are going to create the ad creative for your webinar. That is static images, video scripts, which we would need you to film very, very quickly. And if you don't want to film it, then that's fine. We've got workarounds for that as well, where we can still have, whether it's through AI or whether it's through B-roll or whether it's through any number of other ways, we're going to get video ads up and running for your campaign. We're going to edit those down for you. We're going to launch the campaign. We're going to optimize it. We're going to report on the results, and we're going to give you exact granularity and, holy cow, accountability on where things are going really well and where they're falling short a little bit. And then that's what we work from. So that clinic that spent 500 and got 14 patients at 5,000, that we ran those ads. That wasn't luck. That was precision targeting to a very specific audience of people and creative built for webinar registration for those people to solve their particular problem with their unique mechanism in a cash pay market. And if we were to hire somebody to do that for a launch, we'd probably be looking at $2,500 to pay somebody to manage the launch and optimize the ads and create all the ads for a webinar campaign, right? Just that's what it would cost. Component 4 is where most DIY webinars die, because your webinar is on Zoom. You registered on a page in a software called Go High Level. We use a software called Zapier to make those two things talk to each other. There's a bunch of robots that are all making this happen. And component 4 is really where everything kind of goes to die if you're doing it yourself and haven't done it before. If somebody registers for your webinar, what happens next? With most clinics trying to do it themselves, it's nothing. Maybe a confirmation email, and then people forget about it and don't show up. So it's, hooray, I got 60 people signed up for my webinar, and then you go to host it and there's 4 people there and 2 of them are your parents. With the webinar patient pipeline system, the moment somebody registers, this intelligent sequence begins where people are getting reminder emails, they're getting SMS nudges, they're getting content that's going to build anticipation. And then after the webinar, there's separate follow-up paths for people who attended and people who didn't. There's an AI appointment setter that continues that conversation 24/7 in your brand voice, like they're a representative of your organization. Or if the AI thing is like, no, I'm not into the whole benevolent robot overlords thing, then like we turn that part off and we let your team do the follow-up. And that's cool too. So if we were to build all that out for you, or somebody was, that would be in the neighborhood of $3,500. And then the last component, and this kind of goes back to what we hear all the time, is like, I'm not a presenter. I'm not a public speaker. And that's cool, because what we're going to do is your front desk or your sales team is going to get exact scripts, what to say before the webinar, when to call people, what to say on those calls, what to ask people, what to do with those calls. And you get presentation coaching, or your presenter does. We sit in a room just like this and we practice together. We handle the tech. I show you how to share your screen so that the slides show up the right way and so that you can transition through them and so that you know what to say on the webinar. And then we rehearse it over and over and over again until you're confident. And the webinar that you do live is probably the 8th or 10th or 20th time that you've gone through that presentation. So it's baked in. It's part of your operating system at that point. So if we were to coach you on that, we're talking about $3,000 for that level of hands-on white glove coaching and consulting for that delivery, the pacing, the engagement stuff. So if we were to build all of this for you, this is everything that you get with the patient pipeline system. The total value of everything that I just showed you is about $16,000. Now, I want to talk about what this actually produces, because the deliverables are just the vehicle. The destination is patients. So I am not selling you the plane ride. I'm selling you the beach in Hawaii. That's all the things that make the beach in Hawaii happen. And at a minimum, if this system generates 2 or 3 patients back for your practice at, you know, that 5 to 7K price point, lifetime value that most of our cash pay clinics are in, you have made your entire investment back. 2 or 3 patients is going to do that for you. Our average client does significantly more than that. And so with that context, the complete system, everything that I just showed you, is not $16,000. It is $10,000, one payment, and you're done. And if it's easier to manage that in pieces, you can do 3 payments of $3,997. So remember, 2 to 3 patients at 5 to 7,000 each, and you have made this back. 2 or 3. And our average client does way, way, way more than 2. So you'll see a link on your screen in all of the remaining slides and a QR code. This page right here, guidepostwebinar.com. If you go to that page, you can go ahead and get started, and we will start working on your webinar. We will onboard you as soon as we might not have time on the schedule tomorrow, but first of next week, you will hear from us, and we will get you on the calendar to get a call booked and get your team onboarded so we can get this thing done, because we will be live in 30 days, period. But I am not done. I want to talk about pancakes. Which is probably not the curveball you were expecting. We talk about pancakes a lot on our team internally. And the reason we talk about pancakes is because many of you, I have 3 kids. I'm actually surprised they haven't run in here. I have a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I make a lot of pancakes. And no matter what, when you make pancakes, it doesn't really matter how much time you spend stirring the batter or getting the pan hot or whatever else you need to do to make sure that the pancakes are ready. The first pancake always gets what? Always gets thrown away. The first pancake always gets thrown away because it's a little burnt and it's weird and it kind of shaped up funny and you flipped it too soon. Like, you haven't hit your rhythm yet, right? Like, the first pancake sucks. And so we throw it away. And that's okay. I mean, you could eat it. Tastes the same, but it looks a little funky. It's not the one that you want to put down on the plate with the strawberries and the powdered sugar, right? You keep going until they're golden brown. And so what we do as an agency and as a team, one of our core values is this: we ship it, we fix it, and we perfect it. We don't believe in spending months building something in theory. We believe in getting it live, learning from real data, and then making it better. And because we believe that so deeply, we have built something into the patient pipeline system that I think is pretty cool. We are not going to stop at one webinar for you. So after your first webinar goes live, we are watching the data. We see how many registered, we see how many showed up, we see how many book calls, we see how many book consults, we see what worked and what we can sharpen and improve for the next time. The first webinar is our first pancake. And then at no additional cost, included in that $10,000 that you paid up front, we are going to build and run another month of webinars for you. Not even necessarily the same webinar tweaked with, you know, let's change this red button to blue, but like another round, another iteration for another month with 2 webinars, because now we don't have to spend all this time building it from scratch to make sure we get this 100% right. So we're going to do another month of webinars for you, included in that same cost. We're going to test new angles. We'll set up new ads. We'll do different targeting. We can do it to a different audience. But we're going to build on the real world data from your first webinar launch, because we shipped it, we learned, and now we fix it. So this alone would be another $8,000 to $10,000 to run it again if you hired somebody to do it. We are going to include it in your $10,000 investment. And then we're going to do it again. After webinar 2 and 3 in month 2, we're going to take everything we've learned from 2 sets of live webinars, 2 sets of real data, 2 rounds of optimization, and we're going to spend 1 more month absolutely perfecting it. So 2 more webinars in month 3. That's a total of 5 webinars that we will handle for you over the course of 90 days, top to bottom. All you do is show up and present. This is where it gets like polished. By this point, you're crushing. This is where your presentations are building on real world proof from your practice, your market, your patients. So I want to be really, really clear here about exactly what you're getting. In month 1, we are going to ship it. We're going to build everything. We're going to get it exactly right. So you're like, I got this, and we're going to ship it. And that's going to be our first pancake, and it's going to work. I feel very confident saying we literally did one 2 nights ago, and I can pull up the calendar for you of the calls that got booked and the consults that got booked on the back of it. First webinar ever. So in the first 30 days, a webinar goes live. We're going to generate patients. We're going to probably see a return on investment, and we're going to collect data, and we're going to make it even better. In month 2, we're going to improve with 2 more webinars, roughly 2 weeks apart, because that's about how long you need to let the audience breathe a little bit. We're going to sharpen based on what we learned. And in month 3, we're going to perfect it. 2 more webinars. You now have a proven, repeatable patient acquisition machine, 5 webinars, 3 months, all the ads, all the funnels, all the automation, all the management, the coaching, the scripts, the back and forth, one investment of 10K. And one more thing, because apparently I can't stop giving stuff away today. Most clinics are sitting on a gold mine that they don't know they have. You have an existing patient list or an existing lead list that is probably sitting in a software like MailChimp or Constant Contact that are past patients, people who have inquired before, people who never, they came in for a consult, they never moved forward, they got a cortisone shot, they did this, they went to PT. They came in for a treatment but could benefit from more. What we're going to do is we're going to build a broadcast email and text message sequence to that list promoting your first webinar. So that bonus alone to your existing list. Can everybody hear me? Sargine says she can't hear me. Can everybody else hear me? Anybody have any issues? Keep going. I'm back on, rock and roll. We build a broadcast text message and email list to your existing list or campaign to your existing list, promoting your first webinar. That bonus can be enough to pay for the entire system without spending a dime on ads. And it's all included. So if you go to guidepostwebinar.com or scan that QR code, it's all going to be right there for you. And I know if you're like me or most of the doctors we talk to, you're probably thinking, hey, like 10 grand is real money. Well, what if it doesn't work? And that's totally fair and totally legit. So our guarantee is this. If we build your system, if we run your webinars and you don't believe it was worth every penny and we don't see a return on investment from what you did with us, we're going to keep working. We're going to keep running webinars at no additional cost until you have seen that return. We're going to get this right. That's my commitment to you. We are not in the business of taking money from clinics and disappearing. We know that not everybody, I'm just going to be transparent, not everybody's a fit, and we're really, really honest about that. But when we take you on as a client, as a team, our number one core value that we talk about internally is give a shit. We care deeply about your clinic success. We are committed to making this work if you are. We want to be part of your team for a really long time, and we want to do a lot of things with you so that you can focus on what you love and what you're good at, which is the practice of really good medicine. And this is where we start that. So if that is fair enough, again, all you got to do, go to guidepostwebinar.com and let's get rolling. One thing I do really want to be transparent about, this is not like well, we only have 5 spaces, but like this is work. Like we are doing this alongside you and you're meeting with me and my team. And like, I am your point of contact for this. So we can't take everybody all at once. You just saw exactly what you're getting. You're getting 5 custom webinars, 3 months of ad management, full funnel, full automation, coaching, scripts, all of it. That is a massive, frankly, amount of work for us to provide for you. And you are going to get our full attention. We can take on about 5 new clients per month. And we need you to hold up your end, which is practicing the slides, getting comfortable with the presentation, giving us feedback quickly on the things that we send you so that we can move as fast as possible. And that kind of involvement creates like real capacity constraints on our end. So this is not some marketing like, well, once it's 5, it's gone. You're going to wait 30 days. Once those spots are filled, we're going to take 5. So if that all makes sense, You can go to guidepostwebinar.com right now, scan that QR code, and jump right in. We're going to get into Q&A in just a second. But before that, I want to address some things that I know are probably going through your mind. Number one is I've worked with an agency before and it didn't work. I hear you. Actually, the reason I got into this space is because I owned businesses. I owned 6 kids' karate schools, and I worked with a lot of agencies who didn't deliver any results for me. And so I spent years figuring this out for myself. And then when COVID hit, karate was the wrong business to be in. So I made a shift and ta-da, here I am. I get it. I've lived that life. I know what it looks like to be on the business owner side of things and put that level of trust in an organization with something that means a whole lot to you, which is your business and your livelihood and how you pay for your kids' t-ball lessons and, I don't know, cotton candy grapes if you're anything like me. But those agencies sold you leads, right? We can absolutely get you leads. If you want leads, I'll get you all the leads you want. But the beauty of webinars is that you get leads at all stages of the buying funnel. And so when we start to add on things like direct response ads and ongoing email and SMS nurture, that's when we're really cooking. But we've got to earn the right to get that business from you. And this is the fastest way for us to do it. So we're going to build the system that makes the leads actually become patients in a way that most agencies just can't do. So it's a different service. It's like comparing like a car dealership to a mechanic. Like, well, we're both in the automotive business. Like it's different. We do different things, solve different problems. Plus, you are getting 3 months of webinars, which is 5 chances to optimize this thing, and there's a guarantee on top. And most agencies aren't going to be accountable like that, frankly. 10 grand is a lot of money. That's the next thing you might be thinking, and it is. So let's do the math. If you're at 5 to 7,000 per patient, you need 2 or 3 patients from this system to make your money back. If you're at 3,000 per patient, you need 4, right? Like, okay. And you're getting 5 chances to make that happen over the course of 3 months, with each one getting sharper than the last. Frankly, I would be embarrassed if I couldn't get you that many patients from that many webinars over that period of time. If I can't do that, I'll come to you and I'll pay you to stick a stem cell needle in my knee. I'll be the patient. But we also have that guarantee. That's a joke. I'm not going to have you stick a needle in my knee unless you just want to, or unless my knee hurts. But that's why we have the guarantee. The real question is, can you afford to keep spending the money that you're spending, or the time that you're spending, or the inaction that you're spending right now on doing what you're doing in a way that isn't producing patients while this sits on the table? Maybe you think that your practice is different because what you do is this variant and we do it different than anybody else that you've ever worked with. First of all, cool. Second, probably not. It might be though. And that's why this 3 webinar model is so powerful, because we have clinics that are regenerative medicine and hormone and surgery, right? Like, cool. Let's do it. Somebody asked in the chat, like, what happens after the 3rd webinar? What if you want to do a webinar on a different subject? If you want to do a webinar on a different subject, that's fine, because again, we built the scaffolding and that's the hard part. Now we just put a different blanket on it and we go after a different audience with a different mechanism or a different whatever. Like, that part is easy to pivot and shift gears because we've done the foundation laying in a way that most agencies won't ever do. So webinar 1 is our best hypothesis based on, the hundreds that we've done in the cash pay world. Month 2 is our kind of refinement layer based on your data, what we get back, what we learn, webinar and the dashboard that we build for you. Webinar 3 is the polished, proven version. And we have room to test and adapt and dial in for your specific market. So that's kind of something that like a one and done approach can't really offer. And to answer the, like, what happens after 3 months, like, let's keep going. We are a full service agency. Let's keep running webinars. Let's keep, let's add on lead generation in a way that sends people directly into booking. Let's nurture all those leads. If we did 5 webinars and got 100 registrants each time and at a 30% show rate, then that's 70 times 5. That's 350 people on your list who raised their hand and said, I've got that problem to the extent I'm willing to spend my Thursday night with you. And then they didn't show up. They probably still have that problem. Let's email them. Let's stay in touch with them. Those are all things that we can do. But we've got to have, again, just like we build the foundation for you, we do it with your services as well. So I want to walk you through exactly what happens when you go to guidepostwebinar.com. You can scan the QR code or just go to the URL on the screen. You're going to have two options there to choose how you want to invest. You can either do it as a $10,000 one-time payment. You can pay with a credit card or however you want to do it. Or you can do 3 monthly payments of $3,997. Doesn't matter to us. We're good either way. You're going to fill in all your information. It takes about a minute. After that, you're going to be rerouted to a page where you can book a calendar on our onboarding calendar. And that is where you will sit down with our team. We will do a whole bunch of research on you ahead of time and come in with a whole bunch of questions and specific angles already prepared. And we'll talk through what you're trying to achieve, all of that. And then we'll get to work. We will start building out all the ads and all the slides and all the automations and all the everything that you need. And 30 days from now, your first webinar will be live and we'll be generating patients. So that is what happens at guidepostwebinar.com. So I would encourage you to go make that happen right now. All right. I'm about 54 minutes into this thing. I'm good. I want to be respectful and cognizant of everybody's time. And I know we said an hour. So if anybody has specific questions, there is a Q&A down in the chat where you can raise your hand and start asking questions. So if anybody has any questions, please by all means drop those in there. And I will tell you whatever you need to know. I see a couple people with their hands raised, so I'm gonna call on you guys. If your hand is raised, then I'm gonna let you do your thing. Tell me what you need. Ray, you are my first. Ray Levesque. I've just asked you to unmute, so you're muted though. So if you have a question, lay it on me. Maybe not. Accidental hand raise. All right, we got a Roberto, excuse me. See your hand raised. Any questions, Roberto? Maybe another accidental hand raise. I've got a couple of questions coming in on the chat. Cool. All right, I'm going to disable that and we'll get down to business. A couple of questions. Tom, cost to continue webinars after the first 5. Cost to continue webinars after the first 5. That is going to depend on the volume of webinars that we do each month. But in general, I can just go ahead and tell you the monthly cost for us to continue to run 2 webinars per month for you and advertise those webinars is going to be $2,500 per month. And everything we do is all month to month. So you're not on any kind of long-term contract or anything like that. If we were to add on other services or things like that, then, we custom create all of our invoices and all of our relationships for clients. But the webinar line item on an ongoing basis is $2,500 a month. I've invested in other CRMs. Would you use what is built or would I have to start over? It depends. We've used a few different CRMs. I've got people that have used Infusionsoft, Keep is what it's called now. People that are on more enterprise level stuff like HubSpot and Salesforce and things like that. We are pretty platform agnostic as long as the functionality is there. We can step in and execute in most any platforms. The caveat there, just without knowing exactly what we're talking about, caveat there is there's going to be probably a trade-off with speed just because we've got the structure pre-built out and we would have to do some transference of that. I don't know that it would necessarily slow us down to beyond that first 30 days. But in general, what we say is like, the closer you stick to the recipe, the better the cake you bake. Somebody asked, how do we avoid HIPAA issues when showcasing results? We are talking specifically about, I assume, showcasing like client results in a webinar itself. We remove any personal, like any PHI doesn't show up. We tell specific client stories. Without mentioning names, we use testimonials where people have given permission, and we have clients who have used video testimonials from their patients who have given permission. There's a lot of ways for us to showcase those results and do so in a way that's compliant. Yeah, one thing that we want to talk through. A couple of people asking about ad spend. Ad spend, and this is I'll get into sort of the ethical component of this as well. Ad spend is paid through your ad account to the platform. So to, in this case, Meta, Facebook and Instagram. And the reason why is because I don't want to own any of your assets. I don't want to own any of your data. You don't want me to own any of your assets. You don't want me to own any of your data. And if an agency says like, oh, well, we'll just build your ad account in our agency account, like, or worse, we'll run it through our credit card, or why don't like build on your land, own your assets. I'm going to be on this soapbox. Like I will die on this hill, or somebody will die on this hill. But this is a huge one for us. So ad spend is paid by you. And what we're talking about now is the service of getting all this stuff set up. We generally recommend between $750 and $1,000 in spend per webinar. So that would be like added in, as kind of an all-in cost. So call it 750 to 1,000, but that is, we take 0% of that. You have full transparency on that. It runs through your ad account, billed to your credit card, so you can see exactly how that happens. Ray, I'm going to give you another chance to see your hand up. Question again? Maybe not. Maybe he's just waving. Cool. Ross.
Hello?
Hey, man.
Oh, you can't see me.
I can't see, but I can hear you.
Okay, I can't even see my little my video guy. I just see my audio.
That's weird. Well, you're coming through loud and clear, man.
Hi, I apologize. I had my own, I was doing my own training, so I didn't get most of the stuff. Do you have like a link that and I don't have chat either. I can't see any kind of conversation.
Yeah, I know a couple of people dropped in a little bit late. The chat function was disabled for this, so people are dropping questions in the Q&A. So if you have any questions and you're trying to jump in the chat and it's giving you the disabled message, there's a little Q&A. It's like a little speech bubble, and you can drop any questions in that.
So is there? Do you have a link for your service? What's the URL or whatever that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and just keep this up so you guys can see it and use it the whole time. So it's guidepostwebinar.com. If you want to go in, get signed in, or get started, you can go ahead and get rolling right from that.
And do you have a specific niche that you do webinars for specifically, or is it just anything?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time in regenerative medicine. Cash pay medicine is our sweet spot. So if you're and really what we're talking about here is like a high ticket offer. You're not going to do a webinar to sell a $49 service, right? So we're talking about significant care packages that are going to be cash pay, where there needs to be some layer of education and some layer of relationship building in order to kind of facilitate some decisions.
And what type of how many people typically are you getting per webinar?
Yeah, great question. So kind of working down the numbers, we typically see somewhere in the neighborhood of about a $10 to $15 cost per lead. So by math, if you're spending $1,000, then that means you're getting somewhere between, call it 75 and 100 registrants for the webinar. We typically see about a 40% show rate on that webinar. So you can do your math there. We typically see, of the attendees on the webinar, 30 to 40% take action from the presentation itself. So we're talking in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 consults, fully educated, fully ready to go, coming into your clinic per webinar.
Okay, got it. All right. And you're saying do 2 a month. So every other week you're doing a webinar?
That's right.
Okay. And do you focus on specific conditions like, say, knee pain or shoulder pain or something else
Yeah, it's a
more?
great question. What we have found, and I'm happy to give you, I'm giving a little secret sauce here, but that's kind of what this is for. What we have found is that there needs to be precision in three pillars. And what I mean by that is if we just do a joint pain webinar, it's not going to go super well because it's the pillars are what is the specific problem we're solving? Who is the specific person we're solving it for? And what is the specific mechanism that we are using to solve that? So if we're talking about regenerative medicine, let's call it stem cells, PRP, bone marrow concentrate, umbilical, whatever, right? If we're talking about stem cells, then it might be stem cells as a modality for active retirees who are freshly out of work and want and have a lot of life left in front of them and want to enjoy the time with the grandkids and on the hiking trails. And the specific pain point might be avoiding surgery or avoiding reliance on opioids. So what we do with that is that informs all the messaging around how the webinar itself is structured. And then maybe on the next webinar, this is why we do 5 of them. On the next webinar, it's still, when we talk about those pillars, it's still that regenerative medicine, but now maybe it is for blue collar workers, manual workers who can't afford the downtime associated with surgery, right? So the messaging is very, very similar, and the modality doesn't change, but the structure around it and kind of the blanket we layer on the scaffolding might be different because of who we're talking to and how we contextualize it.
And can you still hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just can't tell. Shoot, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's all right.
Okay, so your function in what is it specifically that is my responsibility, and what is your responsibility in this situation?
Yeah, great question. So your responsibility is going to be probably recording some video ads to the extent that you feel comfortable with that we would script for you. We would literally put them in a teleprompter, and you would basically read them. Then we have approvals. So like we're going to send you the pages, we're going to send you all the stuff, and you're going to go like, yeah, that looks good. No, I don't want to say that. Here's a little different. I haven't been practicing for 22 years. I've been practicing for 27 years. That would be another one. And then finally, the big time commitment for you or anybody would be sitting on calls with me where we go through the presentation, and this is leading up to the actual presentation itself that you're doing, that we need to do less and less as time goes on. Of like, are you comfortable sharing your slides? Are you comfortable speaking through the presentation? Is it in your natural speaking voice? Have you done some reps with this thing? We want to make sure that when you get into the actual live presentation, that it's not your first rodeo.
Are you creating the ads, or you're running the ads, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you have a preference? Like, let's say we're good with HeyGen, for example, and I can use my avatar and create video.
Yep.
Are you comfortable with that as well?
100%.
Okay, so we can do it that way.
Absolutely.
And how many ads do you typically do per webinar in terms of different creatives?
Generally, it's in like the 12 to 15 neighborhood. Probably 8 or 10 of those as videos. To some degree, it's a like, what do we need to do, right? So especially as we get into subsequent webinars, if the problem is not our ad click-through rate or our landing page conversion rate or the cost per click, like if the ad function of the ecosystem is working, like the reason we called the company Guidepost is because we think in milestones, we think in inflection points. And so if the ads are doing their job of getting people to the page and the page is doing its job of getting people to register, then we probably wouldn't test a whole bunch of new ads because we're operating within the KPIs that we've set. So we really look at like, where is our effort best focused and what's the littlest hinge that swings the biggest door.
Got it. So ideally someone would create, say, 10 different videos, and you would just give them like 1-minute scripts, and they would just punch them out all out at once. And then you're in charge of editing and doing all that?
We handle all of it. Correct.
Okay, so you just send the raw footage to you, and you take care of it from there.
You got it.
Got it. Okay, excellent. And yeah, that's
Awesome,
very
man.
good. Thank you.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, no problem. All right, a couple of questions that I want to make sure I get to here. Do you have a sample webinar we can look at? that you're kind of looking at it. So I'm not super keen on like, oh yeah, here's the exact webinar we did for one of our clients. Like that, that's everybody's in the same space. This is their intellectual property that they've paid us for. But what we're doing here by doing what we're doing is allowing you to see how the webinar process actually unfolds, where we present it. We go through the slides. These are the designer that did these slides, the script writers that wrote my script tonight, the people who handled the ads for this webinar. They're the same people that are going to be doing it for you. So you're in the sample webinar right now. As far as somebody asking, we see Regenex as two main accounts. How do you decide in a city that has them in the same city? Okay. I'm going to answer the question I think you're asking, and I have two ideas of what it may be. Number one, geographic exclusivity. So if I get a clinic tonight that signs up, or if I have, like, we have a clinic in Pittsburgh. So unfortunately, if you are in Pittsburgh specifically, I cannot work with you. I have a clinic in Pittsburgh that I work with. So I'm not going to compete against myself or do a disservice to the existing clients that we have. Once a geography is full, we won't do it again. The second one is if you have two offices in the same town, that actually works great, because what we do then is we draw concentric rings around each of your offices, and however far people drive to you from, one webinar takes that 30 to 100, number when we talk about presenting to that group of people, and we're basically doubling it. Now, if we're covering a really large geographic area, or we have clients that offer like telehealth services for things like hormones nationwide, maybe $1,000 is not enough for the market penetration for the budget that they want, because they're trying to go nationwide, right? So like the analogy I use there all the time is butter and toast, right? Like if you're trying to spread butter on a big old piece of toast, you're gonna need a lot of butter. And if you take a tablespoon of butter and try to put it on a crouton, you got way too much butter. Like the toast is the geography we're trying to cover, and the butter is how much market penetration with the ad spend we're getting. So it's intentional about what area are we serving? Now, if you're in Manhattan, we're going to do something very, very different than if you're in rural Oklahoma. Cool. Any other questions, guys? See a lot of us still hanging out, and I appreciate you guys being here. Looks like we've gotten questions answered. Really appreciate everybody's time. It is, I know, your most important resource. When it doesn't work, why? Good question. When it doesn't work, it is almost always because of, frankly, the technical glitches in the system that we have figured out how to not have happen anymore. For instance, we have done webinars for our clients and learned and refunded and run again webinars where the text message reminders that were supposed to go out to get people onto the webinar didn't fire. Well, that's not going to work. You could have a ton of people signed up. Now we have systems and quality assurance to make sure that that literally never happens. And if it does, then of course you wouldn't pay anything. The other part is because the consultation, if we think of a webinar that way, is treated as an information session rather than an effort to engender action. What we want to have happen is we want somebody to do something. And so if we spend time giving people a lesson on the history of regenerative medicine and where you went to college and what you like to do on the weekends, and then go, well, that's, stem cells. So, or that's TRT. So call us if you need anything. Like that's why we take the presentation and make it tight. That's why we have a structure for how we actually go through these things. It's why we do the practice sessions. It's why we make it as easy as possible for people to take the next step with the direct links and the QR codes. Like there's little nuances that we've kind of figured out along the way. And you own the slide deck. Yeah. Great question. Somebody asked, do I own the slide deck? Whatever we build for you is yours. The pages that we build, the automations that we build, the landing, the nurture sequences, the slides, the ad account. That's why we build it in your ad account. So like, guys, I'm fully realistic about this. Some of you are going to buy this $10,000. You're going to learn how we do it over the next 3 months. And you're going to go, cool, I've already got a marketing agency that's pretty good. I'm going to give them this system and they're going to go execute it. And I'm going like, okay, cool. Like go go do that, right? And if I can get beat, frankly, if I can get beat and lose business to somebody who is copying my system, then I don't deserve to win. We are continuously getting better and leading from the front in this space. And so, at the like, if that's what you want to do, then okay, you've paid me for that, for that privilege. So yeah, you own everything. How are you targeting stem cells or PRP if that's not a Facebook interest available? That is a huge question. Number one, we don't target based on interests really when we run ads. There's without turning this into a Facebook ads tutorial webinar. The Andromeda update happened in roughly September of 2025, started in February. But it basically made it so that the words you use in the messaging itself, the creative, the copy, all those sorts of things are huge signals to who those ads get shown to. And the second part is I want to be very clear. When we run these ads, we are not advertising stem cells or PRP in these particular campaigns. We're advertising an educational event. We're advertising the webinar. So we don't really run into a lot of the same regulatory and compliance stuff that gets some ad accounts shut down because they're running ads for things that Meta has a problem with. We are running ads to an event where a doctor is going to speak on medical topics. We are not offering any sort of treatment. We're not making any kind of diagnosis. We are just saying that at this day, on this day, at this time, this doctor will be speaking on this topic and you are invited. We would love for you to be there. That's the ad. The money back is huge. How does that work? Really intriguing. How is that deemed a success or not? We add up all the stuff that you paid us. We add up all what you paid to the ad platform. We make sure that we both held up our end of the bargain. So if you go like, well, I'm going to do my own webinar and I don't really want to do another one or whatever. Like if you follow the recipe and you can't get the patients out of it, you don't call them with the same rigor, and we can track all of that, right? And you don't generate that much revenue from patients directly attributed to webinars, then we keep going until you have. So I want to be clear, it's not money back. It's we keep going until you have at least recouped your investment, which I would say happens really fast. Yeah, thank you, Nicole, for thanking me. Awesome. I am going to start to wind things down. I appreciate you guys all being here. Like I said, and multiple times throughout the presentation, guidepostwebinar.com is the place to go. If you guys have any questions, please reach out. You got emails and text messages from our team leading up to this. Respond to any of those. We are constantly on top of stuff. So we are more than happy to help you with whatever you need. But in any event, thank you guys all for being here. And we'll see you next time. Hopefully we'll see you soon and hopefully we'll get those webinars started for you.